Scratch a ticket with a leg of a cricket, and I got triple Jesus. Cashed it in for Siamese twin at the family firing range. Went to bed and woke up beside another man's head. Nobody noticed. So excited, the senators are fighting. Don't tell me nothing's changed. Return to the moon. I'm tired. Return to the moon. Please. Bought a saltwater fish from a colorblind witch. She said she loved it. I couldn't tell her the part that would break her heart, but it loved me. She said, I think you're getting too far from your family's house to find it. You should know if you're running away and I touch you, you freeze. Return to the moon. I'm tired. Return to the moon. Please. Return to the moon. I'm dying. Return to the moon. Please. Don't make me wait for you at the corner of Eden Park. Don't make me wait for you at the Serpentine Walk. Wish I could have been there when you were driving away for California. If you gotta go somewhere, then you better go somewhere far. Did you really think I could ever go on without you? I'm not a genius. I imagine myself being cool in the backseat of your car. Return to the moon. I'm dying. Return to the moon. Please. Return to the moon. I'm dying. Return to the moon. Please. Don't make me wait for you at the corner of Eden Park. Don't make me wait for you at the Serpentine Walk.
Oh, Father, tell me we get what we deserve. Oh, we get what we deserve. And where down we go.
All right, we'll take like 3 minutes. We'll get started like 3 minutes. So get what you need to do.
So where
What's going on? You doing? I'm good. You?
Way down we go. Oh, you let your feet run wild. Thomas, come as we all go down. Yeah, but for the folk who my heart, do you dare to look me right in the eyes? Yeah. Oh, cause say we run you down till the dark. Yeah, someday we run you down till you fall. And then we run you down till you go. Yeah, till you can't grow no more. And where down we go, where down we go. Say where down we go. Oh, 'cause say we run you down to your car, oh way down we go. Well, we're down, we go. Way down we go. Got a belly full of booze, 1,000 dreams, write words about you in electric streets. I'm the helpless fool, I didn't know when to leave, and now I'm running to you, but I'm fast asleep. I'm so tired of wandering around. I'm so tired of running around.
All right, let's get started. I have some good news for you. We are going to be done today at 14:30. We're going to be done at 14:30. So just to give you a heads up, that was finalized last night. So with me saying that, we're going to try to not cram more. Do it. And then tomorrow off tomorrow, and then come back for Friday morning, and then we're done, right? So we're not going to try to cram because we're getting done early. I just say that let's just put in our best effort for the time that we have, and then you'll be able to roll out of here. And it will not be later than 14:30. So, okay. I called an audible yesterday and like, hey, let's not finish module 10. I feel like as a class, you guys were tired and there's no use of trying to go through something just to check the box and do it. So we're still in the 10 modules that's going to be in your digital training platform. So you can go to your DDP at the bottom and you can pull up module 10. This is a module that we want our facilitators to be able to teach their soldier. That could be a one-on-one setting. That can be I've used it already, just in a couple setting. I pull up this module and I've just talked it through it. So, and then I connect that with the DDP. So either you can do it that way, small group, or you can end up doing it as some type of strong bonds event. So anyway, so this is our last module of the 10 that we're going to cover, and then we're going to pivot. So we're going to talk about communication. And I know that as chaplains that this is sort of our lane. Like we have professionally, we probably have as much training in this as anybody in the battalions. And we do memorial ceremonies, we're sort of like, hey, you're the person to sort of help and talk with us. You know what I mean? So when we come to this table, I thought I knew a lot, and this framework has really helped me. Probably more in this area in my interpersonal skills than anything that I've presented to you. At least that's my experience with me. It's really, really helped me. And I hope I can portray that and at least give you an introduction to it, at least begin to think about it as you move out of here. Before we get started, it's really something to me. When I joined the Army, my wife's Hispanic. My mother-in-law is full-blooded Mexican. My wife's bilingual. And so I've grown up with different people in my life of color, of ethnicity. And I went into seminary, and I thought I was going to go do missions. And so I studied missiology and so all that. And so then I joined the Army, and it was a fit for me. So when I joined the Army, it was really interesting to me that this organization took all these different ethnicities, took all these different people who spoke different languages, and they gave them a communication protocol on the radio to be effective and efficient. And I thought that was really amazing. Man, that's really incredible. And the truth is, I was scared to death when I first became a chaplain to get on the radio. And I knew it. Like when I went to Chebolik, I don't know if that's what it's still called. Is that what it's called, Chebolik? Yeah, so I didn't go until 2009. And I remember we did it practice. And I remember getting to my unit, and I remember I need to learn this. I could tell I needed to get to it even though I wasn't comfortable. So I've learned if I'm not comfortable with something, I need to go to it to try to get comfortable. So I got to my unit, quick story, and I got my commander, HHC commander, like, hey, I need you to give me somebody. My religious affairs specialist was green, didn't know anything about it either, so I couldn't rely upon that one. So I began to practice that. We went to JRTC, and I was with my HHC commander, and because I had practiced my radio skills, we were, you know, how we do at NTC or JRTC, we're in this, you know, exercise, and my commander said, you know, we were chasing the bad guys. My HHC commander was. He jumps out of the vehicle, starts running. I was in the back, and he said, hey, Chaplain, I want you to be eyes today for me because we need you eyes looking. So that's what I could do. But then he ended up saying, get off the road. He told the driver to get off the road. He jumps out and says, Chaplain, get on the radio. So there I was, and I was so glad I had sort of worked on some of my skills, and I felt fairly comfortable. My point is that we all have learned those skills to be able to talk efficiently and effectively in the Army. And so that's always been amazing to me that the Army has this communication protocol. And I just want you to listen to this World War II video scene, and then we're going to come back to it. So, Joe,
This is 6 Able. This is Fox 4-6. Over. This is Razor 6 Able. Over. 6 Able, we have 4 or 5 dip tanks in our rear supply area. Can't get to them. Can you get some tanks up here? Over. This is Razor 6 Able. Negative. No tanks, but I have a Tier 1-6 with an anti-tank gun. Same location. Over. Roger, 6 Able. They're between hills 290 and 326, south of the village. King Company reports 4 tankettes and at least 2 medium tanks type 907 proceeding west toward Quiju. Over. Roger, Fox 4-6, dispatching our tear dog with a bazooka team. Out. Break. Tear dog 1-6. This is Razor 6 Able. Did you monitor Fox 4-6? Over. Razor 6 Able. This is Tear dog 1-6. Roger. Loading up bazooka team now. Be on the way in 0-2. Over. Tear dog 1-6. This is Razor 6 Able. Roger. Advise when you make contact. Over. This is Tear dog 1-6. Wilco. Out.
okay, somebody be a scribe for me. Come on, right on the board. We're going to do a class exercise. Thanks, Yukon. So right on, let's tell Yukon, what are some of the commands that you heard? Like, we forget that civilians, there was just a language that went down, and civilians wouldn't understand what some of that meant, but we do because we understand the language. So what did you hear? And we're just going to write a list. Wilco, okay. What else? What else did you hear?
Request for some assets to destroy those tanks that were
Okay,
keeping them out of the supplier.
okay. Bazooka team? Yeah. Yeah, I heard that. You heard what? Break contact. Okay, what else? We going too fast for you, Kai? Okay.
They give us a grid coordinate.
No?
Location. They did.
Oh, they did? Yes, they did. Yeah. Yeah. What else did you hear? Hold on, let's use this. That's okay. Let me use this today.
The over and outs.
Great.
just
Those are simple, but
verbal pass of the baton.
yeah, they mean something. Good. Somebody else. What else did you hear? I heard Roger. Did you guys hear that? Okay. What else?
The command to notify when they establish contact.
Okay.
Is that your machine gun fire?
Did I hear machine gun fire in the background, or was that just static?
Yes, you did. That's why Joe likes this. Good. What else? What else did you hear? Hold on.
Enemy weapon system types.
Okay. Somebody else? Anything else? Oh. Go back. There you go.
Direction of movement.
Okay.
Here's the enemy. They're moving this direction.
Cool.
I heard the bazooka team was monitoring, and whoever was controlling people asked if they heard that, and they were already ready to move out.
So give that in a way where Yukon could write that. Simplify that.
Sir, they need a way for Yukon to write that down.
Over and out.
All right, let's send it to Jeff over there. Yep. Jeff, what'd you get?
The general tenor of the conversation is very short. It's brief, to the point.
Yeah.
You've got machine gun fire in the background, but they're all very calm and clear.
Yeah.
They spoke an active voice,
Oh.
8th grade level.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Say it again. Say it.
They spoke an active voice, 8th grade level.
Yeah. So the last unit that I was a part of, oh, hold up. I'll tell you that in a minute. Okay, anything else? You did blue and green. Why'd you do blue and green?
It was readily available.
Oh, I see. Okay. There's some order there too. There's some order and fun there, I guess. I don't know, but it is like blue, green, blue, green. Yeah. Okay, good. So if a civilian, and I have 4 or 5 guys, but they can't because they've seen this presentation and heard this video, but do you think the civilian community would get what any of this means? They may get a few, but is there some language up here that they would have to teach them how to do it, right? And sometimes we forget that we have language going on. So that was really amazing to me. Join the Army. They have a communication protocol. They put everybody on it, and we follow it very efficient and effective. In tense situations, is everybody calm usually on the radio? No. So my last unit at Fort Hood before I got out of the Army, I was a CID chaplain. CID agents look at the worst of the worst. And I was their CID chaplain. And I saw...
Spelling is optional.
And so the second shooting that we had at Fort Hood, we had on video from the MP vehicles. And the soldier that called that in before that soldier shot himself, you couldn't hardly understand her. Like off the chart. She had learned the protocol. She said the right thing, but how was her level? She was literally like screaming on the radio before he shot himself because he was coming toward the vehicle and she was trying to report, here, we found him, we saw him. And so just because we we've learned it doesn't mean that we always do it, because the environments just change and we're in it. So when we move communication into the civilian world, right, outside of Army language, so when we go back home, most of us don't use this. Now, I still use Roger, and I've been out of active duty 3 years. I still say Roger to the guys. I still say Roger to my girls. There's some things that I still have in me that's part of my language. And I don't know if that's going to be true for you when you leave in a couple of months, but I'd probably say you've been speaking some of this for so long, you're just going to take it with you, right? But when we get into communication with our family, or even we don't always use the same language when we speak to our soldiers because we're all different. So there's not this communication protocol that's all similar, because we teach that you communicate out of your sequence. And because you communicate out of your sequence, it's really different. The way that you speak and the way that I speak is different here. The way that he speaks and I speak is different than the way you speak. And so we don't have this standard communication protocol that can be efficient and effective. And one of the primary problems in leadership teams and in marriage, we've already said it, the first day is what? What's one of the big issues? Communication. And I have found that's why this has been so helpful to me, that I realize that people are speaking out of who they are, and that's how we just end up missing. And what we want to help you do and consider is to say, hey, there may be something to this. So if I know how I speak and what I need, and I know how my daughter speaks and what she needs, if I can understand both, we may be able to get it on course. Same thing with our religious affairs specialist. If you're an NCO with 5 or 6 soldiers, we probably speak differently, but there's not this one protocol. So we're trying to give you a language and some type of protocol to follow when it comes to your communication. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So individuals speak to others using communication styles from their sequence. I just said that. And we have preferred communication styles. So we would prefer people to talk to us in a very, for you, Darren, in a very OR way. I mean, Josh said it the other day, just be direct with me. Didn't you say that? Was that yesterday or the day? Yes. Don't make me guess. He's really saying, hey, he's given me the playbook, the answers to how to communicate with you, correct? But that's not easy for everybody to do every time. But I believe if I wanted to communicate with Josh, if I would do that, we would be good. I'm not saying that I would be great at it. I just believe I would at least get it closer to what Josh wants. So not only does Josh have a communication style, we really want other people to communicate with us because that's how we process information. I've missed Patrick probably a few times this week. And the reason I miss Patrick, because he's like my wife. He's R first. My R's last. So even as a trainer, can I miss certain sequences naturally? So I have to really work at talking and communicating to Stephanie, who's R first. Now, Tim, who's R last, I could probably talk and he'd probably get me because he and I are very similar. And I'm not saying that I always communicate clearly to him, but do you understand the difference? I've learned to have to change the way I communicate to communicate effectively. And that's really important in connecting with people. So a customized communication approach, we want to teach you or introduce it to you. So to connect with others, we want you to be aware of your communication style, and we want you to understand the style of what the other person needs. And this is just an introduction for you, something to consider, to give you a framework and a language to maybe adjust fire. So if I was communicating to JD, EC, JD, you just need it up front. I mean, just tell me what it is, the one thing that you need me to do now. Is that correct? You don't even know why. Just tell me on the most part. But if I was communicating to Darren, here's the one thing, and I need to tell him the why. Because he's going to evaluate, right, Darren, whether I should be doing that right now. And that comes out of sequence. So if you understand that, can we be effective? I believe you can. That's why this module has helped me the most in the last years I've been using this. Okay, so we're going to give you a daily life activity. They're going to pass out. I want you to, before you read it, I'm going to give you some instructions. I'm going to have you break into groups of 2. So find somebody, and then I'm going to talk through this. But just go ahead and get in the groups of 2, and then don't read it yet, and I'm going to give you a couple of instructions of what we're going to do, okay? So pair up. Okay. I need you to select 1 and 2. Like 1 and 2. Who's 1 and who's 2? I don't care how you do it. Somebody take charge and say you're 1 and 2, okay? I need my 2s to read. Okay? I need my 2s to read. I need my 1s to listen. Okay? So the one, hold on, MG. So the ones who are listening, turn your paper over. The ones who are listening, turn your paper over. And what I want the readers to do is just read it. No Rogers, no breaks, no nothing. I mean, you with me? No commands. Don't let them process. The listener has no questions. You can't ask any questions. What you're going to do, the listener is going to try to remember anything that you had heard. And I want you to, the person reading, once you get done, the listener is going to say, okay, this is some of the things I remember. What's going to play out that you're not going to remember everything. So the reader, I need you to be like, correction. Right? That's what we do, correction, and you end up reading it back so they'll get it. So we just want to find out how much you remember, but I just want you to read it straight through. Any questions on this? All right, so go after. Y'all may have to move out in such a place. All right, once you're done, I have 4 other things I just want you to go through. If you're done, just hang out for a minute.
Yukon was a freak. I read it as almost as monotone as I could read it, just kind of straight through. And a couple observations. He remembered everything line by line, boom to boom to boom. The one thing he didn't remember, and he told me at the very beginning, he said, I won't get any names. I got rid of the names. And then what was interesting to me though, was even though it was one paragraph, he still separated them. And he said, okay, now the next story. And he broke it up into stories. So the first story is about the help, and he goes, okay, now the next story. I didn't break it up, but he broke it up into stories. So like he predicted how he was going to perform before he did it, and then he did it. And it was real. I mean, no kidding. Sentence by sentence, he was like, okay, boom.
Great.
It's
Somebody
impressive.
else. Good. Somebody else. It may not be that. It just may how you felt this. So, how you felt as a listener or reader? How they do? Not like A or F. Just
Jeff did a great job. He remembered all the main information except for at the very end, the last sentence or two, which kind of surprised me because I would forget the stuff at the beginning and remember stuff at the end. But when he began telling me, he first of all started off by asking a question. He said, "Who is this to?" And then throughout, he kept wanting more information. It was just all run together, and so the running together was, I could tell, was really bothering him. Like he wanted to all be separated and organized, and so that was kind of driving him crazy
Okay.
as he was retelling the story to me.
okay. Great. Good. Somebody else. I almost hit you in the face, Patrick.
I got him.
I know.
Oh.
He saved the day.
So yeah, Patrick did great. And like good RO, he put he organized it into blocks, like stories, like you said, sir. And it drove both of us crazy because, you know, I'm 0 first, he's 0 second, and we're just looking at this thinking this is completely disjointed and driving me nuts, and I don't even like reading it. You like hearing it less, but I think
Yeah,
I
no
think
doubt.
that you missed only one thing in that whole
Wow.
area. So the details were there. So,
Cool.
Yep.
Great. Anybody else? Okay, let's move to the next slide. Where's my clicker? So I want you guys to both work on this separately. Okay, so this is a separate part of the exercise. So that's why both of you have a piece of paper. So what do you think for you, if somebody was reading this to you, some of you sort of moved already here, that the sender of the message can do to make it more clear for you? I want you to answer that and write it down. Have both participants underline the important sentences in the paragraph. So now you're sort of problem solving. What do you think are the important sentences of the paragraph? Some of you will end up probably saying, hey, this is more important first than this. Like, so if you had to problem solve this. And then I want you on a separate sheet of paper, each of you, to number the important sentences on the scale of most important to least important. So if you were communicating this paragraph, you get to sort of put the paragraph together based on what you think is important and how you maybe problem solve it. we'll get started in about a minute. Take your time. If you don't get done, it's okay. Just get as far as you can. All right. So let's just go through this. For you, just speak for you. What are some things that the sender of this message can do to make it more clear for you? That may be one word, that may just be a statement.
So I think the sender of this message,
For you, right?
for me,
Yep.
put the story in sequential order. Like I felt like it was out of order.
Okay.
That's answer number one, right?
Okay, good. Somebody else?
I think what would help me is if the spouse, I'm assuming here, asks the question up front, I need your help, or can you help me with this? And then start with the details.
So for you, that's what would be important for you? Okay. What else? This guy did a diagram on this.
Well,
I saw
it
it.
was important to
All
me
right.
to know what first you're asking. So I thought the most important was we're going to have to move the kids out of the school district.
Yeah.
And then why, and then what's supporting and what's irrelevant.
So O, ask what questions, R, ask what? Why questions, yeah. And then he broke it down to supporting elements, right?
Well, there was supporting for and against, and then there were irrelevant. One, having a fever has no bearing on this.
Okay. From Josh's perspective, the fever is there. Okay, good. Rebecca.
I talk like this.
Rebecca's OR, okay.
But I talk like this because I need to get it all in. And I did not like reading it. But having done this, I know I do it more and better in writing. Stick to one subject. Just finish out a subject. But what I say though is I'll be talking about it. Wait, change the subject. So he can get his mind, okay, we're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about this, but we're going to go back to that.
Yeah, so we got OR
And-
with a CRO.
And Bobby was surprised that my number one was my son's sick, needs meds, but my number two was you're going to the field. And he's like, going to the field? I'm like, yes, because that just put me in stress because now I got a sick kid. Your mama wants to do this. My kids are going to have to move schools, and so it just kind of goes all the way down.
Good, good. So let's go to number two. Have both underline most important, since the paragraph is like, that takes us to three. So what was your number one, number two, number three sentences? Either how you problem solved it or what you thought was most important. And then we'll come to Teal. Yep.
My number one, unlike Josh, is I care for my son. So Juan is coming down with a fever.
He just said fever now. He just said fever.
Juan is coming down with a fever. Josh, it's not your turn. Juan is coming down with a fever. With a fever. That's the most urgent thing. That's how I kind of ranked it with what's the most urgent.
Okay.
The second most urgent was my boss told me today that I may lose my job. And third is the credit card payments are late and not paid. And I heard they're about to get shut off. So those were the three urgent things for me.
Okay, good.
So I don't apparently care for my son either, because I was like, that's totally irrelevant. Part of me, though, I think it was like the grammarian. I was like, where's the stinking topic senses on here? And wanting to destroy it. But I ranked them, the first one being I think it was more almost, again, grammatical that was really filtering in.
Okay.
But my number one priority sentence was that first sentence about them needing help. Number two, if we help them, we have to move school districts. Number three, I may get laid off. And my rationale with that was, you getting laid off doesn't even matter if we end up moving. So if we end up moving, you're going to be probably, somebody's changing jobs anyway, so that problem solves itself. And a fever is just a fever. Typically in my family, we don't go crazy when somebody has a fever. We just let a fever run its course, unless it's getting high or running long. And so the field, no big deal. The fever, no big deal. I see the potentially helping as controlling all their decisions.
Okay. Helping.
So yeah, I'm pretty much on key with that also. But what I see in this is that this person comes to you with the fact of the going to help with the business, right? And then she goes into the part of needing to change schools. And then she starts talking about the kids, right? And then she gets sidetracked because she's talking about the kids. And then she's like, oh, by the way, Juan has a fever. You need to go get medicine. And then it goes on back to the part of the boss, because that's what's going on right now with the finances, right?
Yeah.
And then with that finances triggers in again, oh, why have you not paid the credit, right? So it's like a conversation that's skipping, and because it's triggering these other things,
Just coming out.
comes off topic, right? It's bouncing everywhere.
Okay. Hold on. Jeff had his hand up. We'll come back to you, JD. Jeff started smiling. So I don't know what he started smiling about. But anyway.
So I think the first most important thing is to understand the relational dynamic here. So who has concerns? Who am I? That sort of thing. And so this basic structure is, say it's husband, and you're being relayed this stuff from your wife. Okay. And she
So that would
has-
help you if you had the relational
Yeah,
dynamic.
and so I had to figure that otherwise it's just meaningless information that belongs to whoever. So I need that.
That's really
first.
drove you crazy, didn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, and so the wife has a mother who's got issues, and the wife has issues with me.
Yeah.
Okay, and then next piece is, what are the problems? Well, there's two. One is my mother-in-law, her mother needs help from me, and then she's upset with me because bills haven't been paid. So then the next phase is, well, how do you solve those problems, and what's the triage for that? And that's governed by urgency and severity. And so that's how I sort of organized
Okay.
the business.
He came after it very structured. Did you see? Oh, I still caught it. Hey, what do you know? Brian, we caught another one, huh? All right. So just peripherally, I saw it coming, right? So did you see how he broke that structurally down? Like, I really believe another O guy broke it down. I'm not saying all O people break it down, but man, communication style plays out. All right, EC, go.
So I took a different approach.
No kidding.
And
Go. Go.
I think the most important thing,
First
most
of all-
important sentence
Okay, go.
is.
Did you say helping in any way?
What?
Did you say helping at all? Was that important to you in that sentence? Helping?
When she asks, what do you think?
Mm.
And then the support for that is, I don't know anything about this. I don't know what we're doing about my mother-in-law. And why didn't you pay them? And
So you're saying that, or is she saying that?
I'm saying
Okay.
that's the reason why I believe, what do you think is the most important thing? I think she's asking for engagement, and all the other things are part of it, but she's inviting her spouse
in.
into my life.
And he's gonna be like, hey, I love it. Let's solve it together. Right? Yeah. Interesting. Anybody else? Will? CE? Let's hear from the CE.
Yeah, so even though we're similar, I thought the most important thing was right up front. Mother-in-law called, needs help with the business because your father-in-law is not healthy. So you've got a business problem, you've got health problems, and so like, all right, we got to go and help our family. How do we help our family? Can we help our family? And then you started looking at all the school stuff, trying to answer that. Like, hey, well, school districts, it's probably a good thing because Erica's our 7th grader and her school district is terrible. So we'll move. It'll probably help my daughter out and get better. I was like Tim, a little bit less concerned about the fever, but it's because I know that in my closet, in my toolbox, is a whole extra set of medicine for all of our children. And my wife just doesn't realize that there is, in fact, Tylenol and ibuprofen for the kids up in the closet. And I just got to walk upstairs and get it and we're good.
All right, Josh wants to say something.
Well, I think we're all inferring a lot. We don't even know who Juan is. Juan might be the dog.
That's
or
what Jeff's
like the
been trying to say.
brother-in-law.
Jeff's been harping that from the
And just-
get-go, right? Yeah.
And just because they forgot to pay the credit card doesn't mean they don't have money to pay the credit card. We don't know what kind of business this is that she's starting or whether or not we want to help. So I think we're all inferring a lot.
And I would take it a step further. She's saying my mother-in-law. Why didn't she just say your mom?
Yeah, there could be something there, huh? Okay. We got an answer. You can throw it, Darren. Go ahead.
Spiral coming.
All right.
This is internal and external. Internal, today my mother-in-law, all the way down to school district. External, I heard today from Staff Sergeant Brown's wife, you were going to the field. I didn't know anything about that. So back to internal. Maria's school is okay, blah, blah, blah. External, Juan is coming down with a fever. Internal, Marie's in the 4th grade, Erica's in the 7th grade. External, my boss told me today they may be laying down. Internal, I don't know about anything about my mother-in-law. What do you think? External, I saw that both credit cards payments were late and not paid. Why didn't you pay them yet?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot going on here, right? So communication style. I believe that we communicate out of our sequence. I believe we problem solve. Because that's how we take in information. That's how we process it. So if we just go back to home squad, you probably have different people in your family that just communicates naturally differently than you. Now, if you are married to somebody with a similar sequence, you have you most likely have a better chance of communicating similar. If you're both in your RO or RO position. But if you're in your RO position and your wife's in your CE position, then I still think you would miss. And we'll talk about that later, right? But if I just talk about communication style. So in my years working with leadership in the Army, I've sat down with many XOs and 3s trying to put new slide decks together for their commanders. Not in my battalion, but in other battalions or brigades that I've worked in, just with what I do. Is that another form of communication? Do you think commanders need to receive information a different way? We have some commanders that need a picture, right? Now, I know people who do slideology that are really good at it, right? But there's some people we do it, but we don't process that way. How about your emails? How do you write? I know the Army has told us how to write. Most of us haven't read that publication yet, right? Because we communicate naturally here. So you may need to consider how you communicate to the person that you're communicating with. So Darren, I'm just gonna pick on you. When you write an email, what is sort of your frame, if you framed it? And I know that's really open-ended, but just.
It depends on who the recipient is.
Okay.
I usually default to more conversational.
Okay.
Just because it feels more personable to me.
Okay.
Rather than.
Are they long paragraphs, short paragraphs?
Pretty short.
Okay. Are you cognizant like, hey, this could be too long, I need to change the words?
Very cognizant.
Cool. Okay. If you get one that's long, what do you think? If someone emails to you and it's like major paragraph.
Yeah, I'll check out. I'll try to pull out a couple of things.
Just remember.
I'll
So,
pull out important things. But if
so like what we just did there, right? Like what's the major
I'll
thing?
prioritize. I'll find 3 things that are important in there. Can't process 17 things.
Yeah. That's just not an Army thing. I think if Darren got out of the Army next year, I'm not saying you are, he would still take himself with him and do that same process with civilian clothes on, right? Huh? I don't have any ability to hire. They're the owners, not me. I'm just a trainer. Did you hear me? Right? So do you guys, communication style. So let's go to our DDP, and we're going to close with this because we have tried to give you some information about communication style. So go to your DDP, go and follow the instructions on the slide. And we have just began putting information in to assist you in maybe some practical tips to help you communicate with the people around you, at least to consider. Because we want to help you connect. Because we do.
Is everybody in the letter tool on communication? Any trouble getting there?
So pull up C, communication, and I need my C9, C10 people to read it. I think that's Will and Bobby. Are you there, Will? Yeah. Okay. So these are just some practical tips for communication. We had one of your spouses, I think it was David's spouse, because I've just put spouses together last night. Rebecca helped me. David, your Kendra, there was one of your other spouses I won't name because she asked a question for help with one of her children. And Kendra went to the communication and said, hey, you just need to talk, your child see first. You just need to talk to her like this. Right, Bobby and Rebecca? Because that communication style for C locked in with Kendra, like she got it. So anyway, we'll read this.
All right, C, be sensitive, warm, and friendly. Smiles and nods head often. Shows more concern for people than tasks. Talks easily and freely. Delivers a friendly, personalized approach. Likes to maintain eye contact with everyone.
And that would also be true of C second, okay? Now, there's some communication skills we all learn, right? But we're just talking about natural tendencies. You're going to see this in your teenagers. I already see this with my 5-year-old daughter, okay? I believe that they're wired with sequence, and they're already communicating out of who they are. Bobby, how accurate was that about you? Will?
Yeah.
Right on? So if I communicate that way every time.
Absolutely. We're talking and like we're looking at each other.
Yep.
Paying attention. We're engaged.
Yep.
Life's good.
Matt-
We're like looking at this can.
So here's what we're trying to do with communicate. What are we trying to do? We're trying to connect, but I'm also trying to deliver a message that will be what? Received. So this is sort of like your communication command protocol for C. Try it. O. Who am I? O. For everybody go to O.
Read it, Josh.
Hold on, Josh. Let me hand you this. What are we calling this, Joe? This cube? Catch box. That's it.
Catch box.
All right.
Direct, to the point, focuses more on task than people, wants to close the conversation quickly, ask questions to gather details, likes to give advice.
And I'm going to say this. I am OC. Okay? So when we give a one-letter communication style, we understand that there are 3 other letters behind the O. So I am not as direct as Josh. And I don't think David would be. I don't think Jeff would be. I mean, I can small talk, but sometimes I don't want to small talk because I need to get to the task. But I'm task and people. With Josh, he could end up being more what? I mean, he said it yesterday, just be direct. I mean, he didn't probably look at the communication style, but that's what we said, like, pal, right? I need that. That helps me. R. Patrick, I'll pick on you. So go to R, communication. And this can be true if you're R second, right? So we're just trying to say mostly R, higher the R, the more accurate, most likely of those are going to be. Go ahead, Patrick.
Appears to be calm or reserved, focused on facts, not feelings, deliberate and direct, delivers factual, logical information, analyzes and challenges.
So what do you think? Is that how?
Absolutely.
So do you understand? So if I have to, I said it earlier, I've probably missed Patrick because my R's last. I got to like turn on my communication R, and that's really hard for me to do. I've had to work at that over the years. So what I end up saying is that I believe Patrick, and if your art needs to the picture, like don't give me all the puzzle pieces. What are you painting first? If you can just give me this big picture first, he at least knows what ball game stadium that we're in, so he can begin to process it. If I go after Patrick, even though he's 0-second, like fast and quick, I think I've already missed him. I think he'd be like, okay, E. Who's my E? JD, everybody go to E, communication style.
Talks and gestures a lot, doesn't sit still, has stories, jokes, and experiences to tell, wants things to move along quickly and have quick results, focuses on making a strong impression, values skillfulness and charisma.
Cool. So how accurate was that about you?
Yeah, I'd say it's 3 out of 5.
Which 3 are right?
Talks and gestures.
Yep.
Storytelling.
Yep.
And the skillfulness of communicating.
Okay, good. So again, connect using core. We're just covering, we're sort of wrapping up what we say. If you want to connect in some simple ways, do their likes, avoid their dislikes, right? Be aware of how people perceive you. That's important when we begin to connect. And the last one, we want you to deliver a customized approach. And the more that you begin to work on that skill of a customized approach, we believe that your communication is better. So if you had an OREC commander versus JD, who is ECRO commander, do you believe that they would communicate to their team differently? Right? I believe you're going to see it play out. So as this is not in our script, but as a chaplain who advises your commander, if you end up giving the assessment to your team, and you have a commander that's not OR, and all of his commanders, company commanders are OR, could you advise them on what these company commanders need from you that you don't deliver naturally? It's really a problem, and I'm just using it, if the commander is EC and the XO is CE, and I've seen that in the Army, and my company commanders are all O first, the team is missing just in communication. Because what is an XO supposed to do role-wise? Yeah. So this is a tool you could use to come to say, okay, how can I assess my team? How can I help in communication? How can we miss? And even in your Cubs, Bubs, however you guys, whatever you do in the field, man, you can just see it play out. So it's just a tool to begin to look. And this is why I told you at the beginning, it's helped me the most in how I communicate and how I understand communication. It's given me a language and a communication framework to do that. All right, let's take a 10-minute break. Take a 10-minute break.
Your eyes follow like traces in the night. us ever closer every night. And how he waits, begging for blood. I promised you everything would be fine. Been wondering for days how you felt me slip your mind. Leave behind your wanton ways. I wanna learn to love you kind. 'Cause you're all I ever longed for. Been wondering for days how you felt me slip your mind. Leave behind your wanton ways. I wanna look you in the eye. 'Cause you are all I ever longed for. Been wondering for days how you felt me slip your mind. Leave behind your wanton ways. I wanna learn to love and kind. 'Cause you are all I ever longed for.
I see the way that you've been looking at me. You know that I got what you wanted. Think I gotta let you know that we were over the day that we started. And it was coming on eventually. The writing was all on the wall, and it told me to move on. We tried to dance and you didn't want to look uncool. You took my hand and I put my trust in you. Then you let it go. Oh, how do you know what the top looks like when you're living on the bottom? And how do you know what a love looks like when your heart's been broken? It takes some time, I gotta get mine, and you gotta know low if you wanna get high. Don't worry about me, it's all better now. You don't worry about you, I'm all better now. Rolling off like water on my back. I know that you owe me some money. We don't really gotta talk about that, 'cause I'll let it slide for you, honey. I see you walking and you're looking so sad. I wish that I cared, but it's funny. I don't need you anymore. Well, we made our plans and you let them all fall through. You took my hand and I put my trust in you. Then you let it go. Oh, how do you know what the top looks like when you're living on the bottom? And how do you know what a love looks like when your heart's been broken? It takes some time, I gotta get mine, and you gotta know low if you wanna get high. Don't worry about me, it's all better now. You don't worry about you, I'm all better now. know? How do you know what love is? Take some time and gotta get mine, and you gotta know love if you wanna get high. If you wanna get high, yeah. How it looks like when you're living, looks like when your heart's been broken. Take some time, I gotta get mine, and you gotta know love if you wanna get high. Don't worry about me, so better now. You go worry about you, I'm all better now. How do you know? You gotta know love, you gotta know love. And how do you know? You gotta know love, you gotta know love. Take some time, I gotta get mine, and you gotta know love if you wanna get high. Don't worry about me, so better now. You go worry about you, I'm all better now.
What am I to build if my hands are broken? If I'm not the chosen one, what am I to build? Where's my heart beating? Somewhere under that water. If I drive, will I get over? Will I join the team? So lost in time and dance the night that is eternal. And the words for me change their feeling. The first one ready to all of my possessions, they're lying on the back seat. I tied in a thing, but it's never neat. Such is my life. And so I must have tried to dance the night that is eternal. And the words for me change their feeling. On the first one, ready to begin. Ready to begin. Just one step. Just one step. Just one step. Just one step. Carry me over to the three, where the other half begins, where she will carry me over to the three, where the other half begins, where she will carry me.
begins, where she waits for me. Let the frozen carry me only to the free, where the other half begins, where she waits for me.
All right, we can get started like 60 seconds.
You say I'm always getting mad, I'm always such a drag, but I'm not like that. I know that I'm too hard to find, I don't make time, and I'm just like that. Hold me back, I don't wanna be trapped. It just make me mad, turn me around. I don't wanna make a sound.
All right. So let's get started. We're going to try to move through some modules this morning before we get into leadership this afternoon. And so I'm looking forward to our leadership afternoon. We had a couple of modules about that. So that was the close of our 10 modules that we're wanting you to present. I'm not going to do a core moment with you guys because we just did that as our first module. I called it an audible, but if I have a, yes.
Question, will we have access to these slides?
So go to your DDP, everybody go to your DDP, your digital training platform on your phone. Somebody walk them through where to go versus me.
Oh, got it. I got it.
You're there. Huh? And the videos that I show in here are already loaded there. So I can be on the line doing module 1 with 3 or 4 of my guys, right? So it's already there for you. And when we do updates, we do updates, you're going to get the updates, okay? So this is not one of those things that we're going to have you come back in 12 months because you didn't do something. No, we update that and you get them automatically. Yes?
I noticed some of the earlier modules, what was on the app was a little different. When are those ones going to?
Yeah, so we're working through a deck this week with me. And when we finalize that this is really what we want, we're changing them. So we have, we're going to First Cav in 2 weeks. We come back and do 2 weeks at USASOC, and then we go to 7th ID in January. So we're sort of working through these modules to say, hey, what's the best model? And then you're just going to get these updates. So go back to your question. When Brian loads these, we'll be after as a team, we say this is what we want to use.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And also I have some cold brew coffee if anyone would like some. I'd be more than happy to share some
Share
with
it.
you. Just
Share
kind of give me a little.
So we are trying to integrate technology with the younger generation soldier. We believe it will work because they're on it, okay? So I didn't do a core moment, but I'm encouraging you, like if you do it weekly, and this is your last 10 week, just sort of do a core moment. Hey, what did you take away from the 10 weeks? But I'm going to bypass that. What we want you to do when you talk with your soldiers, and if you do like a 4-hour training, an 8-hour training, a 12-hour training, your soldiers are going to give assessments like during first hour. Like they're going to send it second hour. But what we want to do, I'm going to tell you this, the way that you learn this is not in a book. We believe the way that how do you learn to shoot? You shoot. The way that your learning is going to learn with this is by going and trying it, doing it. But we know that some of you will do it quicker than others. We understand that. We just want to support you whenever you decide to do that. And if you don't, we're here to support if you ever come back and pick it up. All right. So we do want you to tell your soldiers, hey, write down at least 10 people you'd like to send assessments. Now, why are we saying that? Like, what's our end game here? What do we want your end game to be with your soldier? Connection, right? You're not going to be able to help connect them unless they end up giving assessments to their family, right? Sometimes as a chaplain, you're dealing with not just the wife, you're dealing with a mom and dad who's in Massachusetts. Well, if you could say, hey, can you send them an assessment? Could that help you right there at Fort Hood or at Bragg? Right? So just remember that. We're trying to help the soldiers connect. So we want you to give assessments. This is for you guys, okay, and for our junior leaders. We want you to give assessments to your squads. Can you guys listen to me? So we're going to give assessments to your squads. That's what we want you to tell your soldiers, okay? We want you to experience CORE by connecting with your squads. And then as a facilitator, you guys are a facilitator. We want you to say, hey, discuss any questions with me. Right now, I'm your facilitator. I'm here, we're in as a team in the long game with you. And we're going to talk more about that. But we're here to help you ask questions. Hey, I got this case study. How does this work? And so Michael's going to come either now or at the end of day 5 and sort of talk how we process this. But I'm your facilitator. When you teach, I want you to say, hey, if you have some questions, come and talk to me. They will. When you roll out this information, you will end up talking to them. Can you tell them what you just told me, what you did?
So last night, I flew with my company commander, and so we had some time. We were just kicking around in the evening, and I was telling him the training that we're going through, and I was like, hey, do you have a quick minute? Take the assessment, and then do you mind if I shoot it off to your wife too? And he was like, okay. So we sent the assessment out to him and his wife, got the feedback, and just pulled it up real quick, and I went through, and I was like, does this sound close to who you guys are?
Great question.
And he was just like, how is something so quick, so accurate? And then the second thing we started walking through was like, okay, how do you communicate with her? And then we pulled up the way that she likes to be communicated with. And he just like it was the mind boggle. He was just like, yes, this makes sense.
Cool.
So yeah, it was a great experience. Probably took 10 minutes altogether.
So be quick. Who's that commander going to go talk to now? When he has problems, who's he going to go see? That guy, right? But you can arm them, and I'll bring up Mike. We'll transition now, Mike. Mike, I'm going to pivot now. Great story. I wanted you to share it. So Mike's going to cover some admin stuff, and then I'll come back.